This is Local Legends, the podcast where West Michigan sports takes center stage. Hosted by three local voices who've lived and breathed area sports. Hutton, Oshnok, Bakita. High school football the way it's meant to be, covered by the experts who know it best. This is Local Legends. Welcome to the Local Legends podcast, and it is game week here in the state of Michigan. Many of us have spent 9 months waiting for this. High school football is here. We have games starting Thursday night, continuing into Friday, and then on for the next 3 months until state champions are crowned at Ford Field. So to wrap up our preview portion of the Local Legends podcast here in 2025, we are going to have a conversation with Dan Rohn, longtime West Catholic football coach, where he won 4 state championships. Then he had a few years away from the high school game. He had a couple years as an assistant for Tony Neese up in Big Rapids at Ferris State. Had a year with Brett Bakita and myself on the Fox 17 Blitz before eventually taking over as head coach at Warren de La Salle, where he's gone on to win 2 more state titles. And Coach Rohn, as always, has another really good team this fall. So Ash and I had a chance to catch up with Rohn to talk about his team, high school football in general, West Michigan, eastern side of the state, and everything in between on the latest edition of the Local Legends podcast. Dan, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it. Of course, you and Ash go way back, and you and I have spent some time together doing this kind of stuff. So it's great to have you on. Just tell us, how you're feeling getting ready for 2025 there, coaching De La Salle.
Yeah, well, obviously, thanks for having me. It's always great catching up with you guys. We're getting there. We're a little bit of a young team. We got a tough schedule, but got a couple scrimmages coming up this next week, and we can get through them and figure out a couple missing pieces and get things aligned. I think we can be okay. I don't think anybody's going to feel sorry for us not having a lot of depth or any of those other issues. But just like anybody else, we're just trying to figure it out right now and hopefully give us a chance come November.
Hey, you got to take us through, because a lot of us are just West Michigan folks, right? And so you obviously have a long, long history here in West Michigan at Fremont, at West Catholic. Any other places? Was your first job at Fremont?
First job was over here on the east side at Northville High School.
Was it really? Okay. See, I didn't know that. I did not know.
You were the head coach at Northville?
Head freshman coach.
How old were you?
I was 23 years old, and then I took the job at Fremont and was the OC and DC for 1 year, and then I became the head coach the next year.
The OC and DC. I love that. So
I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was doing it. I was rolling.
What was your freshman record at Northville?
Ooh, good question. I don't even remember. I know I got kicked out of a game. I couldn't coach game 9.
Okay, so for these West Michigan folks, and I have not coached on the east side of the state, at least high school wise. So you transitioning from the west side to the east side, tell us a little bit about what's the difference between coaching on the west side versus coaching on the east side.
One thing that's noticeable is we don't have that community feeling. Like we have good football over here, but we don't have that Friday night lights atmosphere. And it's disappointing because you really want it for the kids. There's been some games where we get it. Now, don't get us wrong. We play Detroit Catholic Central or maybe Brother Rice. We'll get into those atmospheres. We'll have an incredible night there, but man, there's a lot of times there's not a lot of people at the games. So the kids kind of gear themselves to play for each other a little bit more and obviously for their school and their alumni. But the other thing is just the amount of transition and getting to know the kids. And, since you don't have that community, you don't know a lot of these kids. They come in as freshmen and you're just meeting them. So we have 53 kids in our freshmen. I think we represent like 14 or 15 different schools. And so, you got to get those kids to know each other. And then the other thing you got to do is keep your kids. Like we're starting to feel the pressure of the whole college, like transfer thing going on. And we have a senior class right now that had, I think, 48 kids when they were freshmen. We're down to like 19. 2 kids that are 4 and 5 stars transferred out because they couldn't play for us as sophomores. And now one of them's going to University of Miami, and the other one's going to Kentucky. And, you lose kids over here if they can't play and they want to play right away. So it makes it really difficult holding on to them and that building it up and then still winning, and all those aspects. We got to take all those things into play over here. It's just a little bit different than the West Side.
Yeah. So I would think a typical fan or somebody who's watching would say, okay, well, he was at West Catholic. what's the difference between West Catholic and De La Salle, right? You speak of community. West Catholic, they've got a community in the West Side, or is it just more local as compared?
Yeah, it is. I mean, our kids drive 35, 40 minutes to school every day. So it's not, they're like, I don't know if we have one kid on our team from the city of Warren. It's just a different community. It used to be, all the kids used to be when it was a real blue collar community. A lot of our kids did, but a lot of those kids went to West De La Salle. Their parents, who all worked at Chrysler, GM, and Ford, then sent their kids to college. Now those kids are living in suburban schools a little bit north of us, but they still want their kid to go to school at De La Salle because of the tradition. So you're getting kids that drive from a long ways away. And we were playing a lot of games at Wayne State. You talk about somebody that lives out on 29 Mile, and people don't know that here, but 20 minutes, that's like a 50-minute drive to our home football game. They get home on a Friday night, last thing they want to do is drive into downtown Detroit. So we've created some opportunities for our kids to really get a feel for that by creating some traditions. Like we play at Jimmy John's Baseball Stadium, which is just like playing at Fifth Third, a little bit smaller venue, but it's right in northern Macomb County. And we get like 5,000-6,000 people at that game. That's a tremendous atmosphere. That's really the only game that we get like that true Friday Night Lights over here. A lot of people talk about the Catholic League and its traditions, and I've never been big on leagues. I'm more important when it comes to playoffs. That's my MO. So I think I offend some people once in a while when I'm over here because, like, I don't care if we beat Brother Rice or Detroit Catholic Central. As long as I'm playing, the day after Thanksgiving, that's what's important to me.
Right.
Well, there's a lot there, but I want to talk about, you're talking about your home games. You play at Wayne State, you play at Jimmy John's Field. I mean, you guys built a stadium, right? But you're not allowed to use it on Friday nights. Can you just help us bring us up with what's going on there?
It kind of reminds me of that old Catholic Central situation at the Cat. We built the stadium. It's right in a neighborhood, and we probably have 500 parking spots. So the concern is parking and overflow and lights. So we made the agreement. Now the city of Warren did give us an exemption this year. We're actually playing a game on a Friday afternoon at 4:00. We're getting our kids out of school at noon. We're doing a teacher staff luncheon, like homecoming assembly, teacher staff luncheon. And we're going to play a game at 4:00 against River Rouge. So we're playing our first home game ever at De La Salle, except for during COVID. We got to play one game on a semifinal game in front of 250 people. So be a great atmosphere. Should be a lot of fun. And then we're playing our other games at Lawrence Tech. So we got to create some opportunities for our kids. It's kind of tough. There is a city field in Warren that we're kind of working with the city of Warren. There's a lot more politics and things over here to deal with that you don't really deal with on the west side of the state. Everything's kind of like that traditional school setting.
Well, help us with, so you guys are now in Division III, correct?
Yeah, well, we've been Division III since I've been here. We've played up in Division II every year. And our enrollment was really close to being. When I first got here, we were over 600 kids. That put us at, almost 1,300 when you double our enrollment, because that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And we're down to like 475 kids in our school. So that's 950. And that's an average Division III school, if not a lower Division III school. And you also look at it, I think people got to be smart when you talk about leagues. Like in our league, when I was Division II, Brother Rice was Division III, Orchard Lake was Division IV, Detroit Catholic Central was Division I. Everybody knows how tough it is to play people twice. I mean, take Catholic Central and West Catholic. Somebody ought to sit those two down in a room and say, listen, why don't you go Division V? Why don't you go Division VI? Play each other week one, make it a great rivalry, and then you can stop knocking each other out of the playoffs. Right. And so when I look at the big picture, since we're getting smaller and those schools are both Division II, I'm like, why do I want to go Division II and bang our heads against each other? Not to mention, I'm sure the MHSA is going to put us in the same regional,
right.
Same semifinal to make sure we do it. So I'm like, why do that? Why did they do that to our kids? Why did they do that to Brother Rice or Orchard Lake? And we beat Orchard Lake last year by 10. We'd have played them in the regional final last year if we'd have slipped by Groves, but we didn't. So, there's a lot of things that come into play for it. And our numbers are down. I had 86 kids. We dressed 123 for one of our state championships. Our numbers are down. We're about 65 on varsity now. So it's a big difference too.
So you talk about that. De La Salle's an all-boys school. So that's why your enrollment doubles, 475 to 950, or when you're a little over 600 to 1,300. Yeah. Is that, what did that take for you to get used to coaching at an all-boys school? Because I don't think you'd ever done that before.
It's amazing how easy the transition was. I'm going to be honest. Like, I tell our kids when our kids come in for visits for shadow days and stuff, and we get kids that are coming in that go to a boy-girl middle school. I'm like, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. It's really easy. Like, you hang out with your buddies all day long. I think the one thing it does, Jason, it really challenges our kids in everything they do. Like, you go to our gym in intramurals. I mean, they're working it. They're busting each other up. They're playing hard. They go to math class, they compete against each other. It's like being in a locker room or on the bus or with your buddies all the time. I don't want to say that girls bring drama. There's no drama, but there's really none of that. Since I've been there, we haven't had any fights. We get kids getting shoving matches and gets heated once in a while in a intramural game or in a weight room or whatever it is. But it's just a different flow. And guys are guys. I mean, we work out 0 hour. They get all sweaty. They throw their polo shirt on and their dress pants and their Doc Martens and throw a little body cologne on and they're off at the class. They don't care what their hair looks like or anything else. So it's pretty interesting when it comes to some of that stuff.
Yeah, but your hairdo and my hairdo, man, they look good though, right?
Yeah, but not many people can wear it. Hey, look at Jason. Yeah, hide it under the hat, Jason. You must be embarrassed by that. Let's go, show it off.
So I've got a question. So I've always been obviously a big fan of you, and I made the argument to a couple of coaches and a couple of just people around here in the Grand Rapids community that when I became a head coach in 2014, I really looked at you and Coach Fellows who was at Grand Rapids Christian at the time. And I feel like you guys changed the way that West Michigan would prepare for the high school football season, right? In the summertime, nobody was doing what you were doing back in 2012, 2013, 2014, where we would be doing team camps and we'd be doing 7-on-7s all the time. We'd be taking our kids all over the place, right? So I really try to mesh and do what you guys were doing. And then when you got the job at De La Salle, I know for a fact you got there and you shocked the Catholic League. And again, you don't like to talk about leagues, right? Did you bring that same kind of, and I'll just call it the West Side philosophy of preparing kids for the season to De La Salle? And did you have to change anything? What were some of the things that you did when you got there?
Yeah, I think one of the things people don't like to talk about, I think the West Side has great programs. It really has great programs and tradition. And, I grew up in a time, I was coaching with the guys like Noel Dean, Jack Sugars, Tony Anise, Pete Sturzma, Pat Collins. I mean, the list goes on of people that were really running. Dusty Fairfield. I coached. My first scrimmage at Fremont was against Dusty Fairfield, who's a Hall of Fame, amazing program builder. So I think a lot of those program mentalities I brought over here. One of the biggest things that I think I focus on, and I think it happened for me at West Catholic, is when we lost in the district, my second year there, I thought we were a pretty talented team. I just kind of looked at like what some of the other schools were doing and, and how we can transition and run our program more in segments instead of like winning game one, going 9-0 and then getting knocked out of the playoffs. And, it happened to me a couple of times. So I thought one of my best football teams ever was 9-0. We beat Grand Rapids Catholic Central week 1, week 10. We lose week 11 to Holland Christian.
Right.
So I think you have to look at your kids and what your philosophy is and what you're trying to do. And my goal is to be the best football team in November, get our kids healthy. And, we might be in a football game and I don't like to be in a football game and lose, but if we're losing a football game and I don't think we're going to win it, I'll pull the dogs off a little bit to keep our kids healthy, to get us ready so we can be regrouped. It's not that I'm throwing in the white towel, but I'll get some other kids ready. And I don't think people build their programs that way enough. And there's a lot of times in Division V football when I was at West Catholic, I looked across the field at some really, really good football teams like Reed City and, Belding, and there'd be 5 or 6 guys on crutches or, sitting out because they got a concussion. We did everything we could to keep our kids healthy. So in November, we can play the best football we're playing.
Yeah. Well, I call it the Dan Rohn effect of the Catholic League, because for when you entered the Catholic League, is there any coaches who are still coaching at the respective schools?
Oh, that's a good call. Let's see.
Right? Dan Anderson, Central, not there anymore.
No, and that guy beat me out for the job. And new coach at every one of the schools. And, we came in, and I came in, there was some pretty good kids here. Sure. We just had to fine tune some of the things we were doing a little bit. I mean, the first year we went 2 I don't know how many games you played, 2-5.
Right.
And then we made a state championship run and lost to a really good Brady Rose team. Mm-hmm. I could say Mona Shore's team, Brady Rose team. They were a pretty good football team. And Koziak does a great job. And so that was a program. And we built it a little bit from there and took some of the traditions. And I've been fortunate enough to coach some pretty good kids over here. I mean, I got a kid that's going to compete for a job in the Big Ten. And I got a quarterback now that's competing for a job at Grand Valley, who was player of the year. And so I've been fortunate enough. Well, and I think there's some really good coaches over here too.
So when you think about the high school game in Michigan, think back 30 years ago, and nobody was throwing the football, right? And now it's like everybody's doing what you do, right? Spread offenses, throw the ball around. Take me back to 1995, Fremont High School, and you grew up in the wing T with John Shillito. Like, where did you get the offense, and what was it like at Fremont High School throwing the football like you did? And
Time out. When he played for Shillito, they did like everything. You should see. I've got film.
I'll share some films. He's got some pretty good plays to be running the football. So I'm going to give him that.
So before Shillito got the Irv Sigler syndrome there, right?
Yeah.
Like he had Rohn. I mean, these guys were in all kinds of crazy formations. Now they did run the ball a lot, but like it was like phenomenal. I mean, Shillito was the man. And I don't mean to jump in on your
I think when I got to Fremont, my big thought, I took a lot what we were doing under Brian Kelly and Tom Beck at Grand Valley. And we were playing Fruitport, Spring Lake, and Reese Puffer and Orchard View. I mean, they were in our league. And every one of those teams were lining up in a wing tee. And I was like, and so everybody was preparing for the wing tee. And so we just tried to do something a little bit different. Fremont always had really good athletes too. Like they were great in basketball, great in cross country, great in track. So we tried to take advantage of it. And then we just built it from there. And then, we incorporated a lot of the quarterback run stuff when we got to West Catholic. And then obviously my time at Ferris, I was able to develop, steal some of the things they were doing with Tony. And so I think that is important. I think it's changed. I think one of the things going now is, defenses are starting to catch up. We're looking, but we've kind of always been true to it. We're a multi-formation team. We love to run inside zone, and we love to throw the ball. We love to get into our quick game. And I think kids like that. I think parents like it. I think it helps develop athletes and sells our program. But I mean, it's funny. Like I think about scheduling teams on the West Side all the time. Like, Granville has an open date. I haven't played one wing T team. I take that back. I played one wing T team since I've been on this side of the state out of 60 games. And that's Lakeview. And they took the entire first quarter in the playoff game. Entire first quarter. I was screaming at the officials. And they were beating us 7-0. Halftime, we had them 35-7. So things kind of turned around a little bit. But that's the only wing T team I played. And so, I don't want to go over and play Granville. Doesn't do me any good. Right. But if I was on the west side of the state, it would make sense to schedule them because you're probably going to run into somebody that does it.
Right. So speaking of, something you've been running the spread since the mid-90s. So if you were to take your rank for me, your top 3 quarterbacks, you can't include Ferris. Who are your top 3 Dan Rohn coach quarterbacks?
Oh, man, you made me hurt some guys' feelings. I mean, there's I've had some quarterbacks.
That's what I'm saying. They've been unbelievable. I mean, you can just rattle off some of the names.
I think the kid I have right now is probably the best pure thrower that I've ever coached. Like this kid's only a sophomore. And the things that I've seen him do with the football, I'm just amazed. And that includes the dudes that I had at Ferris. Like he can throw the ball from any arm angle. He on RPOs, he'll drop down and throw it around a strong safety. Like it's impressive. Wow. But kids that have played for me, damn names like Rebel Smith.
Yes.
That dude, that's back before you couldn't get everybody got in the playoffs, right? We played 9 games and he threw 28 touchdowns. 28 touchdowns in 9 games.
That's great.
And the kid's Ash, you're bigger than this kid. He's like 5'7". You might have an inch on him. And then you got obviously Travis Russell, special dude. Brady Drogosh, Kurt Deering. One of the best athletes I ever coached was Luke Buitendijk. He won our first state championship for us, went on to play Grand Valley baseball. So I've been pretty fortunate to have some really good quarterbacks. And, I love coaching quarterbacks, but, my role now is I'm just coordinating and helping call plays. I don't coach a position, which is kind of nice. I'm actually running special teams as well. So I'm stealing a little bit from Jack Sugars. He's gave me some stuff. But it's just fun. It's fun to see how the game evolve a little bit, stay in connect with all these guys. It's funny. I got a text recently from one of my players said, Coach, we're having a debate. What's the best team at West Catholic? And I'm like, guys, I'm not getting in the middle of it. Have a good time with it.
My favorite team. My favorite team.
Which one?
The team that started 1-4 and won the state championship. Never forget that one.
Yeah. Dude, I'm hoping we might. I don't want to say it, but we could be down that path this year. I mean, we open up with Hamtramck week 1, and we got Davison, who's loaded. Always Jake does a tremendous job. Then we go play the Division II state champs, Orchard Lake St. Mary's. I think they got 6 or 7 Division I guys. Then we play Toledo Catholic Central, who has 12 Division I football players on their team. And then we get to go play Detroit Catholic Central. So, and, they probably got the best player in the state. They got a Wisconsin commit tight end and a Penn State offensive lineman. Week 1 through 5 is a bear for us. And, I I said to someone today, I go, if we're 1-4 and we're playing well and we're healthy, I'm okay. If we're 1-4 and we're beat up and getting destroyed, it's a young team. If we're 3-2 or 2-3, I don't know what we're going to be, because we're playing some great talent, great teams right away.
So since you've been at the Catholic League, it's merged with the Ohio schools, right? St. John's Jesuit and Toledo Central Catholic, as you mentioned. Is that, you talk about you don't care about conference, you're worried about the postseason. How is that working out, playing the Toledo schools? Is it good? Is it bad?
It's absolutely horrible. You want to know the truth? Horrible. You don't think I could have scheduled Toledo Catholic Central on my own? We added teams to our league, and we added to one of the best teams in the state of Ohio. And then the other team that we left, they let out of the league after 1 year. So we only have 5 league teams, like league games. I got to find 4 non-conference games. It hasn't worked. It's just, now I really like the 2 guys that are coaching the Toledo schools in our league, and they're good guys, but there's a lot of different rules. Like, they have 6 quarters. We only have 5 quarters. Special teams don't count down there. So they want to play every JV game on a Saturday, because every junior and sophomore play all the special teams for them. And they don't play in the game, they get to play in the JV game the next day, And so there's been things that have made it difficult. I don't think it's good for Michigan high school football. I wish we did something. We had a bigger league locally. Problem is our league has a lot of schools that play football, but we have schools with 100 kids in it, all the way up to, with Detroit Catholic Central, who has 300 boys per class. You're talking 1,200 kids. That's 2,400 all boys when you do the math that way. It makes it a little bit difficult. So it's been tough. It's been tough finding games. I mean, I got right now, out of 9 games, I have 3 open dates for my JV. 3 open dates for JV. And I can't find anybody to play us. I have 2 open dates for freshmen.
I'm telling you, it's hard. Scheduling is hard. I mean, a lot of people ask us, like, hey, why are you playing West Catholic week 1? Well, first of all, I think it's a great game. But second, it's not easy to find games. Like,
and I can show you text messages
in a game, but like, it's hard finding games.
And I would love nothing more to play some West Michigan teams that we match up with and bring our kids over there. Like, when we played that game at Muskegon a couple years ago in front of that atmosphere, we just don't get it over here. Right. But we can't get West Michigan teams to play us. And it's too bad, because there's some good teams over there. There's no reason we can't play a Rockford or a Caledonia or a Jenison, on the schedule, Byron Center, any of those teams that are open. We'd love to come over there and play some things. And I think it does everybody some good. I mean, I can't tell you, I was at West Catholic, I know I didn't have a winning record week 1. I know I didn't have a winning, because, I mean, we played Orchard Lake St. Mary's twice. I can tell you right there, we got outscored like 80-7. Right. But playing those talents early, they don't hurt you. Teams are going to get into playoffs. Play and see what kind of team you have. And, going 9-0 has never won a state championship. I don't think if you're 9-0, no one hands you a state championship trophy. You're right. And I'm not saying anything bad about it. It happens. I mean, I've gone 9-0 and not won it.
Right.
So go play some people, schedule some tough games. My hat goes off to Matt Koziak and Shane. I know Shane has to do it too. But, Matt Koziak's playing Toledo Catholic Central this year. And now we're playing next year, Mona Shores, week 9, back-to-back years. Yeah. We've already signed a contract.
And Grand Blanc. He's going to play Grand Blanc too.
Yeah, but like Davison said. I won't poke that deal.
Well, we're on the scheduling talk. Is there the whole new playoff system was supposed to help with scheduling? It doesn't seem like it has. What can be done? Is there anything that can be done to fix this?
I think everybody should just get in, and it should be an 8-week schedule. I mean, if we want to do it that way, and people are like, well, then people won't play each other week 9. Well, 0-9 team should play a 9-0 team anyways. You could do some different things. There's no easy way to do it. I just don't think this is working. I haven't been a component of it. I haven't been a fan of it since it's been this way. And because it hasn't helped. It hasn't helped teams like us. And some of that might be, hey, you're a Catholic league and we're not playing a Catholic school. Like, I know there's schools over here. I know there's leagues over here where they tell the coaches, don't schedule the Catholic league schools, which is fine. Don't schedule us. We'll travel around, but it stinks. I mean, there's got to be a way to figure out so it works. And one of my probably faults in all my years of coaching is I haven't been involved with the Coaches Association. I haven't been one of those guys that works the conference and gets on these committees. And maybe some of the guys in those committees look down because I haven't volunteered my time. But, I've also been focused on raising kids and running a program. And, I always take a leadership role in the school. I'm not typically, teaching a couple classes and then having a bunch of free hours. like right now, I'm the president at De La Salle this year. I'm running the entire school and coaching football. And so that's a lot of time, and I'm putting in the time. I just don't have time to do those things. I applaud the guys that do. I appreciate their efforts, but there's got to be a way to fix this.
Yeah. I mean, the scheduling piece, it's just so tough because when it was win 6, it was like, all right, well, I've got to figure out a way to win 6 games. And so nobody was going to play a De La Salle, right? Nobody was going to play a Catholic Central. And now it's like, okay, it's points. It's somehow like the schools that I really feel bad for. If you look at the points, like Cass Tech and Martin Luther King, they're always so low just because they're hamstrung to their league, right? Because Cass Tech's going to have to play Pershing, and I don't know, Pershing's in their division, but maybe Mumford or some of these schools that are lower enrollment. I mean, it's like, I think 2 years ago, Cass Tech was the last team in Division I, and they were one of the top 5 teams, right? And they were 6-3, but I think they had a loss to, I can't remember who, but like Toledo Central Cat, whoever it was. And it was like, man, they went 6-3, and there's barely.
We went 7-2 last year. We didn't host a home playoff game in our league, in our schedule, because we were Division II.
Right.
6-3, we might not have got into playoffs last year, and I think we were a pretty good football team at 6-3 with our schedule. I mean, we could have easily lost to a Davison or Orchard Lake because we lost to Toledo Catholic Central 9-0, and Toledo Catholic had a 1 loss. They were 10-1, and we were 7-2. Didn't host a playoff game, and if we'd have lost another game, we'd have been on a borderline of not getting in. So that's the other part of going down to Division III. Now, if I lose 3 games, I know I can get in the playoffs. So when I schedule tough teams, okay, if I go 6-3, 5-4, I'm probably going to get in the playoffs in Division III.
Right.
So people can say whatever they want. I have to do what's best for our team and our program.
Right. Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, I mean, you're always thinking about the playoffs, and I know you're one game at a time and you're not getting far ahead of yourself, but I'd say there's a pretty good chance you're going to end up playing Martin Luther King in the playoffs this year in Division III. Is there a team on your schedule or maybe multiple that are going to prepare you for, this postseason run, maybe running into a really good team like King?
Oh yeah. I mean, our problem is we're so young. Some of those teams early on our schedule that we're going to take some lumps and learn from. I'm hoping our young guys can remember it by the time we get to that point, week 12, whatever it is, if we get to week 12, because Toledo Catholic Central, I mean, they got a receiver going to tight end going to Notre Dame. We had some pretty dynamic athletes last year, and we struggled to guard that guy one-on-one in space, and he was only a junior. And, they got a receiver going to Toledo, and they got another corner going to Texas A&M. We're going to play Detroit Catholic Central, who's probably, I think, has the best athlete in the state of Michigan. I know the kid at Cass Tech is really, really good. We've gone against them. But the Gash kid does so many things for Detroit Catholic Central. So, yeah, there's a lot of teams that will prepare us and get us ready. And that's kind of why we do the schedule the way we do it. And we get through that early part of the schedule. And I'm not saying it gets much easier because Brother Rice is an improved program. They got some guys there now, and they're starting to grow up a little bit. And we got to play another Toledo school. And we throw Cincinnati Elder in there. We got to travel down to Cincinnati for week 9. I know West Catholic played them early last year, but they were a young team last year. They're a much improved team, and they're going to have 10 games on their schedule when we go down and play them. And we play them at their place, which gets packed and has a great atmosphere and so we got to travel 4.5 hours to play week 9, and it might be win and get in or, turn your equipment in early for us, which is a little uncomfortable for me to talk about.
Have you been to their stadium, the Pit?
I have not, but I've heard some great things about it.
Dude, great atmosphere there. Great. It really is.
Really is.
It's a great atmosphere. That'll be awesome. I mean, that's like Elders, like West Catholic on steroids in Cincinnati. Like
that's kind of what I hear. And Landon, obviously talked to Landon a little bit about it. And they're a good team. And Landon, those guys played them really, really well, really, really well last year. Took their lumps a little bit, went down there and played a good game and kind of figured out who they were a little bit. Credit to them for going to do it. Because a lot of teams wouldn't have put their kids on a bus and spent the night in a hotel and played a game. So it doesn't make it easy, but hopefully we can. I mean, the goal for us is to be healthy and get in the playoffs. And I know I say I don't matter, like JC say, one game at a time, but you know what? If you could tell me right now, hey Dan, it's October 30th and you're in the playoffs, I'd take it. So not that I don't care about week 1 through 9, because all I do is use week 1 through 9 to figure out who we are. It's just been my philosophy and been how I built my teams. I mean, we argued in the coaching office today. That's why I was so late getting back to you guys about moving some kids around, because they're so worried about winning week 2 and week 3 and week 4. And I'm like, listen, I think if we develop this kid at corner, he's going to be really special. So let's just stick with him, let him take some lumps, and he'll be there in the end.
Mhm.
I don't think I'm too far out on a limb when I say your philosophy is pretty tried and true. I mean, you've done all right over the years, so pretty hard to argue.
Yeah, I love the second season. It's just a different feel. I mean, I think about it. When it gets to November or late October, baseball's really good. College football is really good. High school football is really good. NFL is starting to separate itself, so you know who to put your money on. Like all those things kind of lay out, and they're a lot better. And I can't stand the winter. Like I hate the winter, but the closer it gets, the better football gets. So it's been my kind of what I love.
What about other than King on the east side? What other Division III teams really stand out for you?
Obviously DeWitt, who's going to be a border team. No, you don't know if they're going to. Wouldn't surprise me one bit to see that fact that we go Division III that they bump DeWitt to our side of the state. I don't want to plant that seed in anybody's head, but Rob does a tremendous job at over there, and there's some schools that are down south a little bit. Carleton's done a good job lately, so we'll have to see how it shakes out. I haven't looked into it as much as my coaches have. In our area, I don't really know because I'm telling you, Division II for us has been pretty lock steady over the last few years. And, for us, we don't play any of those schools. Like we don't play anybody. We played King last year, week 2, and beat them, but it was a great game. And obviously we went against them this summer. They got some great kids. We have a great relationship with them. And, Cass Tech's another one that's obvious Division I is loaded, but we'll have to see how it plays out a little bit. I don't know who's Division III over even on the west side.
Well, I mean, Kennewa Hills, your best friend, Don Fellows, man.
Oh, yeah. He's got a great quarterback. I can tell you that. Kid just hit me up. Kid just hit me up for a fundraiser. Come on, that school doesn't have enough public school money. So they've got a great program. Don's doing a good job over at Kennewa, and I think it's a good fit for him and his staff, and hopefully Grayson gets the opportunity he deserves because he's a high level player. I think the one thing that happens over here that's a little bit different too is recruiting. Like, dude, the recruiting over here is crazy for the college level. Like, I mean, it's tough, and I think you could bring some of that to the west side. I think if I went back home, back to the west side, I'd be able to understand the recruiting process a little better. But our door is a revolving door in the spring. Like we host a college combine at our place. We have 90 different colleges that are at our showcase, and from far as Arizona, Wake Forest, Kentucky, Kansas, just because they know when they fly into Metro Detroit, they can hit 20 schools in 2 days, right, and see 50 Division I athletes. Yeah. So,
yeah, and if you look, I mean, we talked to Ty Spencer about this a little bit, but what Sound Mind, Sound Body has done for the east side of the state, and then what Power Strength is sort of doing on the west side of the state here a little bit too, is, I mean, just the amount of athletes that they are prepping and preparing, and it turned Detroit from a basketball city to a football town. I mean, there's no other place in America that produces more NFL talent than Detroit, right? And that's directly related to Sound Mind, Sound Body. You can't tell me any otherwise.
Yeah, I think that's a big push for this. And, what Curtis does and his connections are amazing. And Reggie Wins is another one, with Rising Stars. So it's like you got two competing, one's Metro Detroit, one's inner city Detroit. So they're hitting everybody. And you talk to these guys, they know every kid. Like they know every kid from 7th grade to 12th grade. Yeah. And, you have to have your pulse on it over here.
Yeah.
In other words, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. They know every kid. And then at the same time, Curtis and Reggie, they know every college coach too.
Oh yeah.
It's like, hey, my kid's interested in going to, I don't know, Texas A&M. It's like, oh, okay, I've got so-and-so's number. Hey, let me hit him up, send him this film, and I'm going to let him know he's legit. It's incredible.
The other great thing about both those guys is they're in it for the kids. And
right.
So they don't care about relationships with parents or what a parent says. They'll push the kids really, really hard, and they'll talk to them like they would talk to their own son.
Right.
And like that's a fine line for me as a coach. It's a fine line for you as a coach. Mm-hmm. When you want to tell a kid, hey, if you don't start working hard, you're never going to play college football. Right. They say it a little bit different over here to them, but they listen to them.
Yeah, you're right.
So teams you've thrown against, seen, been around this summer, who's a team that's going to surprise us over in your area that maybe people aren't expecting that's going to be good?
I'm going to give Warren Cousino a little bit of a shout out. That's a team that we played in against the playoffs a couple years ago. And we're only a block. I mean, we're 3 blocks away from each other. It's a Division II football team. We've thrown against them 2 out of the last 3 years. We played against them in the playoffs. And, he does a really, really good job over there. And I think their team has an opportunity to make a little bit of noise in Division II that no one's talking about. I mean, obviously it comes down to who they're going to play in the playoffs. So I wouldn't be surprised because he's got some athletes that can run around and make plays. We threw against King and we threw against Cass. We threw against DeWitt. So we've seen some good teams. We threw against East Kentwood at the Sound Mind, Sound Body. So we've been pretty fortunate to see it. So beyond that, we haven't done a lot with other schools. There's not that West Side connection where I'd call Osh and he'd bring his kids over and we'll bring ours over. Like we've thought about loading our kids in a bus and bringing them over to the West Side to do a couple day camps because we get a chance to meet some people and do some kids. The other thing that's weird is our kids don't even know there's anything past Lansing. Like they don't even know what Grand Rapids is. They don't know what Lake Michigan is. Like I'd love for our kids to experience some of that because none of them, a few of them go to Hope, a couple go to Grand Valley, but it's shocking to me how little they really know about the West Side.
Wow. That's interesting. What about, so in your league right now, obviously Catholic Central, I mean, got to be the favorite. Yes. I mean, and I know you don't like to talk about league, but
yeah, they were favored. They were picked. It's funny. We do a league media day, and we all come together, our football coach, and they got the most votes for first place. Toledo Catholic Central got the second most votes. I think Orchard Lake got third. We were picked fourth. Brother Rice fifth, and Toledo St. John sixth. I think it was in that order, maybe reverse one or two of them at the bottom. But, I think Detroit Catholic Central is loaded. I think that team has some kids that can play football, and they're physical, they're athletic, they can run around. So them and Toledo Catholic should be like a brawl. Like that game should be one to really watch. Toledo Catholic Central, obviously, they're a different beast for us. We see them and then we're done with them. So it doesn't. To me, my whole thing with playing them is they're the one team that I haven't beaten our league. They beat us twice. They're 2-0 against us. We opened, like I said, with Hamtramck, which is a little bit different for us. Davison, I know, is loaded. It's a Division I. That's a tough thing for them because they always get stuck in an odd draw too. Having to go up and play in Rockford and then come back home and get your kids ready for a semifinal game is never easy. Right. So I don't know how that always ends up playing out. But Dakota's going to be good, so those teams will match up against each other. I don't know Division IV, Division V like I used to. So we'll see how it plays out. It'll be interesting. I think across the board, people are hurting a little bit when it comes to numbers. I think, this is kind of the end of that COVID group and some things that people are dealing with. So I think our numbers across the board are good for some schools, but they're down a little bit with everybody as well. So we'll see how that plays out in the long run as well.
Well, tell us a little bit about week one in Hamtramck, because by the time we get this episode aired, it'll be getting close to that week one game. New game for you. You talk about how your team's young. Just how important is this game, and what are you guys doing to prepare here for the Cosmos?
It's somebody we've never played before, obviously. Fortunate enough, I think, to find a good local game one for us, so we didn't have to travel. I think our big focus is to go into that game and kind of, clean ourselves up and do some of the right things, both offensively and defensively, especially special teams, because we know week two is going to be a brawl. We played Davison twice, and the score hasn't been, lopsided in either game, and we're going to have to be ready for week two. So I think it's important that week one is a good game for us and a clean game, and we get a lot of kids an opportunity to play. We got to make sure that we're building some depth because we might have some freshmen on the roster this year, and I haven't had that. But we've got a pretty good freshman class, so I'm looking forward to seeing if those kids can play. But, right now I don't have a JV game, so those freshmen might have to play a little bit on that Friday night in order to get them some reps. So we'll see how that lays out. And that's all part of the thought process. Right now, that's how we're practicing. We start practice with our freshmen at 3:00, and JV goes out at 4:00, and varsity goes out at 4:30. And we're not leaving the practice field till almost 7 right now because we're mixing and matching guys at different positions and doing different drills. Our special teams are doing a lot of work together. So it's a different format than I've ever been used to. It's taxed my coaches, because we've got some guys for the first time since I met at De La Salle that are going to have to play both ways. But they're special dudes, don't get me wrong. Zach Wagner is a 6'4", 240-pound tight end that can play DN. He can play DN for anybody. And so we've got to use him a little bit this year. In the past, we didn't have to do those things, so we got late in the playoffs.
Wow. That's easier. So speak to me about your coaching staff. I know you've had one of the better coaching staffs on the east side of the state, but I think the reason why they're so good is because you push them so hard. I don't know if I want to use the word push, but you're guiding them to get better all the time, bringing in new ideas. Talk to us a little bit about your staff. I know you actually just lost one of your guys to the National Football League. So you've had some really good coaches on your staff. Talk about those guys.
Yeah, I've been pretty fortunate. When you get a guy like Bill Sheridan, who's coached in the NFL, he's coached at Michigan, he's coached at Air Force and Wisconsin, and Jacksonville calls him and says, "Hey, we want you to be our defense analysis, our assistant defensive coordinator." I mean, I guess I got to see why he's leaving De La Salle and the $15,000 that we're paying him to coach football to go down there. But Brandon Bush is my defense coordinator. Brandon is an excellent guy. Like he really gets the kids to understand the game and does a great job. And James Light, if you don't follow James Light on social media, you're probably not coaching high school football.
You got to follow James Light.
The amount of colleges that call me and ask me for Light's cell number, this guy breaks down more film and does. I mean, if there's a Super Bowl, and I'm not stretching, I've been watching the Super Bowl, and a play will happen, and he tweets out 5 minutes later, in 1984, the Steelers ran that play against so-and-so. He's like a savant when it comes to it, and he loves breaking down film, being a part of it. So he does a tremendous job. I got Andy Zimmerman. Andy Zimmerman was from West Catholic, played on my first state championship team. He coaches my O-line. Andy Crowley's doing a tremendous job. I got Bruce Morris, Shane Morris, who played quarterback at Michigan. Shane's a De La Salle alum. His dad coaches on my staff, works for QBU. So you get a lot of guys that don't only coach during the season, they go work a lot of these programs and do a lot of things in the off season. So I think my staff is pretty good. I think the biggest thing I've done with my staff is kind of hone them in a little bit and kind of structure how we want to do things. I mean, if it was up to my coaches, they'd work 24/7 coaching football. Like, that's just not who I am. I'm like, I need to get home. I need to relax. I like, getting into my job. These guys are football guys. Like, these are some real football dudes. And it's important to have them over here. And they've done a really good job helping me build this thing up and keeping it going. So as long as I can hold all those guys together, I think be all right. Hone them down a little bit. They get pretty excited. I think sometimes they take such a mentality of like a college coaching that I got to pull them back and remind them that we're dealing with high school kids a little bit. And, it's hurt us too, though, because they coach really hard and we demand a lot of our kids, and some of our kids they're just not going to do it. So we've lost some kids for that reason as well. So we've also tried to make it a little bit more fun this year and keep things loose. And that's on me as well as a head coach. And that's a little taxing too. I got to be the hammer, the nail, and the good guy. That's a tough role to play all the time.
You get so Jason, I don't know if you know this, but if it's 3rd and 4 and maybe 3rd and 5, do you know what play Dan Rohn's gonna run?
It depends on his quarterback. He's probably running with the quarterback.
Yeah, maybe 3rd and 6 then, because we've had
third and mid to long range. Come on.
He's throwing the slant.
We love the slant.
Old school slant. And you know what? We rep that. You'll be proud of me, Coach Rohn, because in week 1 against your former school, West Catholic, we will run the slant because we've been working it all summer, man. I'm fired up, man.
Well, good. Hopefully you'll get some cover 3 looks, some really good looks against it. Okay. And if they're going to show you too high, let me know, because I can give you some stuff to do against that too. Okay. I still remember running slant.
Yeah.
Remember Jack Pratt at Flint Powers?
Yeah.
Jack wore red pants.
Yes.
To coach it. We had our second game of the playoffs. We beat Gaylord. We played Gaylord week 1 in the playoffs at Fremont. We won in overtime, and our reward was week 2 at Flint Powers. We had to go all the way to Flint Powers from Fremont. And we go over there and we're playing them, and they're loaded, man. They got guys across the board. They had a kid playing like an outside linebacker for him. And our best receiver caught a slant like 3 minutes into the game, and he hit him so hard. I felt so bad for the kid. When I walked out to the field, he said, "Coach, just keep bringing them, and I'm going to keep sending them to the bench with you." And we didn't shy away from it. Poor Heath Johnson caught like 7 slants. On the way home, he was puking blood and bruised kidneys. They came after him. But we challenged our guys to throw the ball across the middle because teams won't do it. They just won't do it. And now you're forcing a linebacker to drop in space and put some pressure on some people. But I'm sure your boy at Davison, he's preparing for it. He's ready for it. He's not giving up. He's walking some people off and getting some inside leverage. So we'll see.
Well, I'll tell you what. I bet you Heath Johnson's a better guy because he caught those slants. I mean, what's Heath Johnson doing now?
It's a good question.
Okay.
I haven't stayed connected with him, but he was one of the better ones. But you're right, it toughened him up. So, yeah. Jason, but I'd tell you, I still love West Michigan football. Like what goes on in West Michigan. It's funny. I ran into the old AD at Oak Ridge. Heath, was it Heath? Who was it? Oak Ridge AD Jack when Jack was towards the end of his career.
I don't remember.
Anyways, I ran into him at Top Shelf on Apple Avenue. He said he went to a Ravenna Oak Ridge game and he was so disappointed in the crowd that was there. And that, some of the traditional games have dropped off and lost their luster. And that's sad. Like that's from a football guy, a football fan. I hate to hear, especially because being from Muskegon, how much I love Muskegon and Muskegon football kind of put me in the position that I'm in now. Like those rivalries of the Oak Ridge and Ravennas and Whitehalls and Montagues. And there aren't many like that in the entire state of Michigan. That was a special conference. And there's so much shakeup with all these leagues and all these people moving around. It's hard to follow anymore. Even as a high school coach, it's hard to follow.
Right.
Well, the West Michigan Conference expanded and then split into two divisions. So there's been it's now you have the smaller schools and the big. Remember, the West Michigan Conference used to be so good because, like what you were talking about with the Catholic League, you'd get Oak Ridge in Division 5, or back then, Class Double C. You get Ravenna in 6 or Class C, and you get Montague. They were all in different divisions, so they would beat each other up in the regular season. They'd all go win state championships.
Yeah.
In the playoffs because they didn't have to play each other. But now you lose that a little bit because you got the bigger schools with the Whitehalls and the Montagues, and then you got the smaller schools with the Ravennas and the Shelbys. So, yeah, the West Michigan Conference has certainly changed over the years, and I don't know. I mean, I was at Whitehall Montague last year. I'll be there again this year. They still get a great crowd for that, and I think that'll be a good game this year. But yeah, it's not what it once was for sure.
No, that's too bad. And of course, the OK Red is what it is. It's one of the conferences that hasn't. I know they added Caledonia or done some shifting around, but that's a pretty traditional league too, of all the divisions. I mean, everything else, the black, the blue, the bronze, the purple, whatever they are, the silver. I mean, I think we were in 3 leagues or 4 leagues when I was at West Catholic in the time that I was there, because they kind of shuffle all those teams around based on enrollment and stuff. And it's never easy to make all those teams happy, but you still got the OK Red, which obviously they produce some great teams. And I think one of the great things would be to do is to have a week 1 where we bring over 4 Catholic schools and play 4 schools in the OK Red and play them all at one site. I think that'd be like a tremendous venue.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Hausman Field.
I know, especially with the renovations, maybe 1 year there, 1 year here. I think there needs to be more of that in order to create some, cross-state rivalry opportunities and excitement, so people know a little bit about each other. I would love to see something like that, not only so for scheduling purpose, but I think for the average fan. I mean, you play those games on a Saturday, it would draw so many people. And not take them away from a Friday night crowd, but to do that for the average fan to come out and be able to support and watch some of that, and bring our kids over there and bring their kids over here every other year or something. It'd be pretty cool to do. Obviously, I'm putting a plug into it because I think it's important, but I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah.
All right, Ash, you got any more? I mean, we're probably getting towards the end here.
Getting toward the end, man. No, thanks, man, Coach Rohn. We really appreciate you coming on, man. I think this is a pretty cool thing. We're getting a lot of views, and we're just trying to promote high school football here in West Michigan, man, and you're a big part of it. So thank you for coming on.
Well, it's a special place, and both you guys obviously are very special to me. So anytime I can spend 48 minutes on my night with you two, I mean, what else would a guy want to do? Seriously, I don't even know if the Tigers covered my bet. So I've been so fascinated by you guys. I have no idea what's going on there.
We'll have you on during the season when you beat Catholic Central or Central Catholic or St. Mary's. We'll find a Friday night. We'll have you on at midnight, and we can talk about your big win. All right, I promise. We'll have you on during the season.
All right, we may want to cover me early in the season before that, but we'll see. I truly appreciate it. I wish you guys best of luck. Love you both. Hope everything goes well and enjoy the season.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man. Good luck.
Always great to catch up with our friend Dan Rohn. His De La Salle Pilots will open with Hamtramck on Friday. That a game they are expected to win. After that, the schedule gets really tough as they'll take on D1 Davison. That's a big-time matchup in week 2 in the state of Michigan, De La Salle and Davison. Let's talk about some of the games we're really looking forward to this Thursday night and then on into Friday night here on the west side of the state. It starts with the marquee matchup. Hudsonville hosting Byron Center. Both teams playing at Ford Field last season. The Eagles, Division I state runner-up, falling to Cass Tech. The Bulldogs, Division II state runner-up, falling to Orchard Lake St. Mary. They actually haven't met in football in 34 years. So back in 1991, the last time they played, which was also week 1, Byron Center's enrollment was 493. Right now, 1369. Hudsonville's enrollment 34 years ago, 784. They are at 2,003 students. So obviously both schools much, much larger than they were back in 1991. Each team will have a new quarterback. Easton Whitechers takes over under center for the Bulldogs, while Hudsonville will go with former wide receiver Brady Van Lake. But it's the running backs that steal the show here. Byron Center's campaign, Hudsonville's Owen Harsma. Look for both teams to pound it because they have such good players in the backfield. Don't forget, this is the 9-6-1 the game of the week. Brett McKeita and Buck Gino have the call. Pregame starts with Rick Berkey at 6 o'clock. Talking about OK Green against OK Red. How about Muskegon at Granville? What a matchup this is. They did, of course, play each other in 2014 and 2015, back when the OK Conference had crossovers. Muskegon won both of those games, 24-16 and 39-12. What I really like about this matchup is Muskegon head coach Shane Fairfield is the defense coordinator. He calls the defense for the Big Reds, and that unit has been really good since he's taken over there. And they've been really good against the Wing T. Think about all those great matchups with Zeeland West. They held the Ducks to 28 last year. Would you say 28? But that's the only one game they had fewer than 28 all the way last year when they won the state championship. They of course, shut them out in the D3 state semifinal back in 2014. My point here is Muskegon and Shane Fairfield have been good against the Wing T. How will they do against this really, really good Granville team? We're all super high on Granville here. The Big Reds do return 5 of their front 7 on defense. Now, they are replacing the entire secondary, but in terms of their front 7, they have a lot of experience and talent back. And this game's huge. I mean, absolutely huge, because both these teams play incredibly difficult schedules. Muskegon missed the playoffs last year. Their schedule was so tough, and they were a pretty good team. You look at Granville, I mean, one of the toughest schedules in the state. They're going to play Cass Tech, defending D1 state champs, in week 2 before they get into the OK Red. So somebody's going to start 0-1 here, and they're really going to be up against it when you look at their schedules. How about Saline at Rockford? Saline head coach Kyle Short, a 2013 Rockford grad. He was the Rams starting quarterback in 2012. He was Rockford's offensive coordinator just 5 years ago, and he's got a really good team. His quarterback is Tommy Carr, committed to Miami, Ohio. Lloyd Carr's grandson, his older brother CJ, is going to be Notre Dame's quarterback. Obviously, great lineage there. They have a tight end in Lincoln Keys who's going to Georgia. I mean, they are talented. Saline's got a bunch of talent. Everybody's got them top 10 in the state in D1. And many people are telling me the Rams are a big underdog in week 1 at home. I'm not here to tell you Rockford's going to win. I think it'll be a really good game. I don't see Saline coming in here and winning by 3 or 4 scores. I think this is going to be a competitive football game. I think it could go either way. Remember, Rockford, really good in openers last year. They beat eventual D1 state champ Cass Tech at home. Rockford's won 6 straight in week 1. On the shores of Reeds Lake, an old rivalry, Lowell at East Grand Rapids. Interesting. You guys actually won 3 in a row against Lowell. That's the longest streak they've had against the Red Arrows since they won 4 in a row from 2001 to 2003. Of course, beating Lowell twice in 2001. This is the debut of the Pioneers' new option offense, led by Josh McCune at quarterback, and of course, Tyler Blake at running back. We know Lowell's going to love to run it too out of their veer, and Logan Dawson back at quarterback. He's really good at running it. 3 offensive linemen in return for Lowell, led by Jack Iakiri. I think it's going to be a great game on Thursday night. I think maybe one of the most underrated games, Kennewick Hills at Forest Hills Northern. Absolutely love this matchup. Both teams are bringing back a ton from last year. That includes their quarterback. Kennewick Hills has Grayson Fellows, son of Don Fellows, who's just a really, really good passer. We remember he got some time as a freshman at Grand Rapids Union on varsity, then, of course, started all last year as a sophomore. And Forest Hills Northern's got Owen Ostapo back, also the son of the head coach, Eddie Ostapo. And I tell you what, Owen's a really good runner. And you look at that entire offensive line returning from Forest Hills Northern, plus they got Colton Sawyer in the backfield. You got the pass game of Kennewick Hills here against the run game of Forest Hills Northern. It's a fantastic matchup. Forest Hills Northern won this matchup at Kennewick Hills last year, 21-10, after trailing 10-0 at the half. And this is a huge game, really, for both teams, but especially Forest Hills Northern, because they have such a tough schedule. Last year started 2-0. When I lose 5 of their final 7 because the OK Green is just so tough. And don't forget, they finished the regular season against Northview. Speaking of Northview, Friday night, the Wildcats are at West Catholic. Now, these two teams were in the same conference, played each other in 2012, in 2013, but this rivalry goes back. I mean, they played week 1 13 straight years, from 1986 to 1998. They continued it the next 4 years in week 2. This is the highly anticipated Northview and varsity football debut for quarterback Braden Daniels, who, boy, a lot of hype around this guy. Ash just told us on this podcast multiple times, this kid can do it all. Let's see what he can do in an actual varsity game under the Friday night lights. And hey, speaking of the quarterback on the other side, Grady Augustin, outstanding last year as a junior. He leads this West Catholic team now as a senior. Big expectations, as always, for the Falcons. And you think about this matchup for Northview, remember, a D2 school that went 9-0 last year and did not have a home playoff game. They went to Byron Center in the opener and lost that game. They're playing a D5 school here in West Catholic in week 1. Not a ton to gain if you're Northview because the way the playoff points work, but I'll tell you what, both of these teams are going to be better football teams for having played this matchup. I love this game on Friday night. All right, for me, I will be at Fred Jacks Memorial Field, Pewamo, Westphalia at North Muskegon. This is Thursday night. It's my second year calling the 107 The Moose Game of the Week with Tom Kendra, and we kick off 2025 with a bang. Love this matchup. Two of the top teams in the state in Division 7. You talk about two really good quarterbacks. Bryce Colbert returning as a signal caller for North Muskegon. He only threw 2 interceptions all of last year, leading the Norsemen to the D7 state semifinals. And Ty Thalen comes back for PW. More of a running quarterback, but certainly capable of throwing it as well. Should be a fun game. Tom Kendra and I will have the call on 107 The Moose and 107mus.com. Our next podcast will be Thursday night as we react to the games. We'll make it available early Friday morning. Ash will join me for that, and we're really looking forward to week 1 of the high school football team. We'll even get to take a little sneak peek into Friday's matchups, even though there aren't as many.